Good afternoon, USC students, alumni, and recent graduates to our event entitled Your First 90 Days, How to Win on a New Job or Internship. I am Lori Shreve Blake, and I'm the Senior Director for Career Engagement at the USC Career Center, and I'm happy to welcome you to this event. This event is put on by one of our employer recruitment interns, Jayla Eloy, who will be taking the lead in the Q&A portion and also introducing our esteemed speaker for this afternoon. So without further ado, I will pass this on to Jayla Eloy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. So, as mentioned, I am a senior at the University of Southern California. I'm studying business administration. I have a minor in culture, media, entertainment, and an emphasis in analytics. So, I'm really excited to be in a space like this and talking to Isaac. So, in terms of our speaker, Isaac, he is drawing on real-world examples from global corporate environments with experiences from companies like Decker's Brand, Sony Pictures, Logtain, and Burberry where he has led talent strategy, promotion calibration, and leadership decision making. So this session is really informative and offers actionable strategies you can apply immediately to stand out and succeed, whether it's an internship or a full-time offer. So I'm really excited to have Isaac speak today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Jayla. Thank you, USC, for having me today. Truly, truly appreciate it. Before we get started, I definitely wanted to just take the time to really just recognize, first and foremost, this current job landscape. I know that everyone is paying attention to it. It seems like every other week, unfortunately, we're hearing layoffs. I know there continues to be the uncertainty around AI and how it will impact roles moving forward. So I do definitely just want to recognize that and not minimize that. Yes, it will be difficult to land a job in this market, but once you land that job, once you land your first internship, the real hard work begins when you land it. This session, I'm hoping, will bring great value to the importance of once you land that great job or internship. Before we get into our session, I want to understand how currently each and every one of you are thinking first and foremost about career success. Next slide. I created a short poll and would appreciate everyone answer based upon what they believe today and not what you think the right answer is. I'll give everyone a minute to just answer based upon what you believe today and not what you think the right answer is. And I assume more people are joining while this poll is up. For those that are just entering the session, I currently created a short poll just to get a good understanding of how everyone is thinking about early career success. If you can please answer the poll based upon what you believe today and not what you think the right answer is. We have another about maybe 20 to 30 seconds. And I think that should be good, Jayla. If we can
Yes,
populate it, will be great.
perfect. Can you see the results?
Yes,
Perfect.
that's perfect. Wow, it does look like we are on the same page. As usually for these polls, most people lean toward work, hard work, and technical skills, as those are absolutely important still. But what I've seen inside organizations across my 20 plus years in global people and talent management, sitting in talent discussions, hiring decisions, and also promotional discussions, I've seen decisions often get made based on something else, how someone is experienced by others, and how quickly trust is built. And that shows up very quickly, usually in your first 90 days. Next slide, please. As most people think their first 90 days are about proving themselves, in reality, they're about something much simpler and much more important. They're about how quickly people decide they can trust you. Here's what catches people off guard right away. You don't get a long runway. People start forming opinions quickly, sometimes in your first few interactions. Your reputation starts forming immediately within those 90 days, whether you realize it or not. Let me give you a simple example of how this shows up early. I've seen situations where two people are working on similar projects. Both are putting in effort and both are highly capable. But a few weeks after, the perception of them is completely different. One leaves touch-base meetings in which their managers and peers are clear on what they're working on, what progress has been made, and where things stand. The other leaves meetings and the manager and peers are thinking, I'm not fully sure where this is at. I'll need to follow up. I've witnessed this personally with my own previous direct reports and when speaking to leaders throughout an organization. The same effort, but very different experiences. And that difference right there is how trust starts forming. It's not about mastering the job in your first 90 days. It's about, do people feel clear when they work with you? Do they feel confident? Or do they feel like they need to consistently chase for clarity? Or do they feel like they need to chase for clarity all the time from you? These small moments are what separates people very early, be it in your full-time job or an internship. And that's what begins building what I call your reputational resume. You're not expected to know everything early, but how you communicate what you don't know matters more than most people realize. And that experience, how people feel working with you, is what starts forming your reputation. And that leads to something most people don't think about early in their careers. Next slide, please. You don't have one resume, you actually have two resumes during the course of your career. The first one is your personal resume that you create. It's the one where you put your skills, education, and of course, your experience. It's the one that you submit to prospective employers. But the second resume is the resume that actually drives your career. And it drives your career from your very first working experience. It's the reputational resume, and it's built by other people based on their experience working with you. It's built from exactly what we just talked about. The two experiences managers and peers felt after the two employees on similar projects. That's how people experience working with you. Another simple way to think about it, it's like a restaurant. A restaurant creates the menu. That's how they present themselves. But what actually determines whether people go there is based on the reviews. You are the restaurant, your personal resume, but your leaders and peers are the reviewers, your professional resume. You should always be asking yourself this throughout your professional journey. If your team were to give you a rating at any moment, what would that rating be? Or what would that review be? Because whether you realize it or not, people are already forming that rating. And that rating, it moves faster and further than anything you put on your personal resume. As think about it. Once you join an organization, you'll work there hopefully for a few years. You'll work with leaders, colleagues, cross-stakeholder partners, but life shifts. People get promoted, people move on, people relocate to states, people move to different countries. That's why the professional resume moves faster and further than your personal resume. Those people that you engage with will always be constantly moving, but will always constantly come back for future references. So the question becomes, what actually shapes that experience? Next slide, please. The reputational resume, like I said, moves faster and further than your personal resume that you submit. You can work incredibly hard, but if people don't experience that clearly, it doesn't translate. This is what leaders talk about when you're not in the room. Let me make this real for you. Within your first few weeks, your manager is already being asked questions such as this. How was it like working with Isaac? Did we make the right hire? Anything I should be made aware of? Your leader is also asking other direct reports, peers, stakeholders, and other leaders the same question. How was it like working with them? Are you getting what you need? Do things feel clear? These aren't formal reviews. They're quick conversations, but they happen early and they happen often. And this will be the same basis for formal reviews. Formal reviews such as promotional discussions, salary, bonus payouts, etc. And that's what starts forming your reputational resume. Like it or not, those early impressions tend to stick longer than what most people expect. And what's interesting is those conversations aren't random. They tend to revolve around the same few signals over and over again. From what I've seen, it usually comes down to a few simple signals. Next slide, please. As when leaders evaluate someone early in their careers, the few simple signals are not complex frameworks. They're not long checklists. They're just a few things that they consistently come back to. First is clarity. Do you make things easier or more confusing? When you speak, when you give an update, when you explain something, do people leave that conversation clearer? Or do they feel like they need to follow up to understand where things stand? Second is consistency. Can I rely on you? Do I know what I'm going to get from you? Or is it unpredictable? Consistency builds trust faster than almost anything else early in your career. Third is composure. How do you show up when things don't go as planned? As believe me, things will go not to plan, usually more than often. How do you show up when timelines shift, when expectations aren't clear, and when something goes wrong? Pressure reveals a lot very quickly. And I don't want to underestimate this, as this piece is the one people truly remember. They'll remember, did you get super stressed out? Did you get over emotional? Did you yell? Were you angry that things shifted? How did you work with your peers? How did you present the information? So composure is extremely, extremely vital. And one thing I'd like to add, because most people don't realize this early, you actually are allowed to check in on your reputational resume. Just like a restaurant will look at the reviews and try to improve, you can also do the same thing. It shows up like this, asking your leaders and your peers, are we aligned on my work? What can I do differently to make this smoother? I recommend, especially early in your careers, checking in on this quarterly with peers and managers. As you continue to move forward in your careers, at least a minimum of biannually, twice a year. As those conversations accelerate trust faster than what most people expect. These are the signals people remember, and these are the signals that get discussed when you're not in the room. Now, here's where this becomes important for you. In your first role, be it your first full-time role or your internship, you don't have years of experience to point to. So these signals, clarity, consistency, composure, they just don't show up automatically. They show up in how you communicate, how you explain your thinking, and how you approach your work day to day. And that's where your real experience starts to show. Next slide, please. Now, here's where this becomes especially important for you, especially as you're going through interview stages right now. When you don't have years of experience behind you, hiring teams are listening for something else. They're listening for how you think. And the main way they hear that is through how you communicate. So when you don't have years of experience yet, how you think and how you communicate becomes your experience. That means employers are not just listening for what you did. They're listening for how you approached it, how you made decisions, how you handled challenges, and how you worked with others. Here's an example. Instead of saying, I worked on a group project, you can say, I helped structure our team's approach, which allowed us to stay aligned and meet deadlines. Hear the difference? One is just a task. The other gives evidence. It tells me how you think. It tells me how you work. And it tells me what it might actually feel like to have you on our team. And this applies to more than just group projects. It applies to presentations, case studies, research, assignments, and even how you talk about using tools such like AI. The question is always going to be the same from hiring leaders. Are you describing an activity or are you showing how you think? That shift is what gives hiring teams confidence, and confidence is what starts turning limited experience into real opportunity. Next slide, please. So, once you understand how you're being evaluated, the next question becomes, how do you shape that experience intentionally? Because your first 90 days are not something that just happens to you. There's something that you can actively and intentionally manage. First, learn what your manager actually values and learn this early. Not what you think matters, but what they truly prioritize. And ask them how and when they want to receive information. You need to get into your leader's rhythm. I'll give you an example. More than likely, your leader is going to be managing more than 1, 3 to 5 direct reports. In certain global organizations, including my previous organizations, I was managing up to 30 people globally. So direct reports who were aligned with deadlines, key initiatives, proactiveness when I needed information made my life easier. So ensure to prioritize your leader's rhythm, because alignment with your leader, it is what creates trust, and it will separate you from your peers truly quickly. Second, communicate your progress clearly and consistently. Don't assume people see your work. Clarity is what turns effort into impact. Third, build 2 to 3 strong working relationships, because your reputational resume is not built by one person. It's built across the people you interact with. If you recall, when I opened up, I mentioned when you have that first full-time job or even that internship, those will be your connections moving forward. Those individuals get promoted, move to competitors, move to different sectors, relocate within state, relocate outside the country. Those people will always remember how you interacted with them, and you want to keep that engagement throughout your career. And fourth, focus on small, visible wins early. Not big, perfect outcomes, but clear progress that people can see and understand. This is how you actively shape how people experience working with you. And that is what builds your reputational resume. And if you take nothing else from today's session, that is what I want you to remember. Next slide, please. Your career is not defined by only what you do. It's defined by how others experience working with you, because those experiences are what people will remember. They're what gets discussed, and they're what drive decisions about you. And over time, that becomes your reputational resume. I've seen people's reputational resume get people jobs without even ever having to apply for a role. As I've worked with thousands of hiring leaders across multiple global regions, when opening up roles, they remembered reputational resumes of people they interacted with before, and we hired those individuals. I've also, unfortunately, seen the opposite, where prospective candidates go through the interview cycle, but because the way their reputational resume is centered with previous people that they've worked with, unfortunately, they didn't get hired. It shows up in promotional discussions all the time. And if you understand this early, you just don't work harder. You work in a way that people recognize, trust, and advocate for you. And this is how you win in your first 90 days and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Welcome.
Isaac. This was very, very helpful. So Jayla's going to take questions now. So students, if you want to put your questions in the Q&A section, we will be happy to answer those. Jayla will ask Isaac all your great questions about corporate America and how to succeed in the first 90 days.
Perfect. So we're gonna wait for those questions to roll in, but I do have some questions that I was thinking about throughout your presentation. Thank you so much, Isaac.
Welcome.
One of the questions is it better to focus on excelling in your defined role or going beyond it to show initiative? And if that's not the case, how do you like strike the balance between those two endeavors?
Yeah, really great question, and thank you for asking. I believe, especially in this market, and especially with, how AI is enhancing productivity, how AI is enhancing skills and moving things faster, you definitely always want to master your first and foremost skill set, right? What they hired you for. But pretty quickly thereafter, absolutely start raising your hands for other projects. You want leaders, you want the organization to see agility, because anything that we've seen so far, AI is forcing all of us to be agile. So definitely master your set of skills first, but quickly show agility.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that response. So we got a question, and it's a pretty good one. It says, how would you go about reconstructing your reputation after it has been hurt? For example, if someone fell asleep in a boring meeting at the end of the day, how would you rebuild that reputation?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I've seen reputations, get, turn positive. I won't lie, it will take time, right? You just have to continue to show up consistently and the opposite negative reputation that happened, right? Because repetition will hopefully wash away what others experience. And unfortunately, sometimes the individuals that hold on to just the negative will continue to hold on to the negative. But you definitely have to continue to focus on being aware of it, showing up consistently, and making sure that, moving forward consistently, you're intentional, you're mindful, and it will and create additional relationships beyond those individuals who saw that previous, I guess, reputation, to increase your opportunity moving forward as well.
Okay, great. And you're also talking about reputational resume and things of that sort. So people are wondering how you can find out what your reputational resume is. Is it like a feeling, or how does someone know?
Really, really great question. And this is where I say, and this is where I wanted this session to truly add value, because this is what I wished. I won't give you my age, but 20 plus years ago, before entering the workforce, um, being intentional, you are more than welcome to ask people. Ask your peers, ask your future direct reports, ask your leaders in your touch bases quarterly, like I said, semi-annually after a few years. How am I showing up? Am I communicating effectively for you? What do I need to do to get better, to make this smoother, etc.? Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because trust me, like I mentioned in my closing, that reputational resume, it will get you opportunities you never even applied for, but
Mm,
it can also stop opportunities as well. So you want to be on your game. I mean, I take my reputational resume very, very seriously. It
mhm.
opened up doors for me. Hopefully, it will continue to open up doors, but that is the secret sauce behind establishing a successful professional career.
Perfect. That's really, really great to know. And we also have a question in terms of people who are kind of not interested in your growth or kind of come off as like haters in the workplace. How does that relate to your reputation resume, and how do you manage something like that?
Yeah, and let me start with this because you will, across my 20 plus years, I've had great leaders and
Hmm.
I unfortunately not had some great leaders. I've had great peers, and unfortunately not so much great peers.
Hmm.
Key anchor to this is it's your reputation.
Hmm.
You need to show up composed. You need to show up, hey, let me show up consistently, clear, etc. Because people will always recognize those not so positive leaders, not so positive peers, but how you handled yourself, even through those dynamics, will even speak more value to it. So don't let anyone distract your own professional reputational resume. Let that anchor always come back to you because I'll tell you this too. There's been many of times during hiring decisions or even promotional conversations where we recognize, wow, that person was working for a challenging leader, but they still showed up all the time, didn't complain. I mean, that was just kind of extra points to them managing that situation.
Okay, perfect. I love that you always have an example, and that's really good to
Yeah,
apply to different situations.
absolutely.
Somebody asked a question about they recognize that they are kind of a hard person to work with.
Yeah.
So if they don't make friends with people they are working with and things of that sort, does that like negatively impact your reputational resume?
Yeah. So you know what? So what you're talking about, I believe, is being an introvert.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm actually an introvert, and I don't know how I end up leading teams of up to 30. Uh, but I think it goes back to remembering being an anchor of your reputational resume.
Hmm.
Even if you don't, make friends or close friends, etc., you will still have to interact with people. And you can always, and I've done this, maintain a professional relationship with my peers, my direct reports. I'm not best of friends with anyone. I keep my kind of professional, personal life separate. I mean, there's been a few sprinkled people who's crossed over to the personal side, but you can still do this professionally because you're going to need people. Here's the hard truth. You're going to need two, three, I would say even 4 to 5 people in your corner all the time because you will not know where you're going to end up. I
Right.
mean, this world of LinkedIn, social media, you're going to be applying for companies, and it really helps when, oh, I used to work with this person that you can feel comfortable to ping, to reach out to, that they can give you the skinny, and that they can also put your name in the mix too. So think of it that way. This is about your professional growth, your professional development, and giving yourself more opportunities to elevate beyond your peers. Because even in this marketplace, right, it's tough.
Yeah.
If you know people, if you work with people, even just on a professional level that can get you in, that will tremendously help you. So look at it in those lens.
Great. And this kind of applies to this anecdote that we have about an internship. This person says the team at my incoming internship consists of around 10 to 15 members, with
Yeah.
me being the only intern in the team. How would you recommend building trust and rapport within the team and increase my visibility, which I'm thinking will be an issue with a team of this size? at the end of the internship, I don't want to think that I could have built a better relationship with some members of the team. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, so I would say first and foremost, definitely the team is absolutely critical. First, check your reputational resume with your leader. How has that experience been with your direct leader, first and foremost, and then extend it to the teams and just be, completely, transparent. Hey, I just want to, be intentional with my professional career. Was there some areas of opportunities I could have done? Is there some ways of working that you recommend, etc.? And just having that dialogue. People are shocked when people come proactive like that. People truly, truly appreciate it, and then you'll know which then you'll know which direction to go from there. So, but first, you have to get the courage to just even ask the question.
Perfect. Yeah. Those are some tips that I've applied to some of my internships as well. So yes,
Awesome.
it does work.
The other
We have a
And apologies too, because the other piece is if you're in an internship right now and if you like the organization, first and foremost, I mean, that is your way in. I mean, you're at a huge advantage right now because people are still hiring and converting their interns a lot. So you want to definitely make sure your reputational resume is above par.
I agree. And we have a couple of questions in terms of LinkedIn and how you can use that platform to promote your reputational resume and your brand as well.
Yeah, so here's a nice secret to this as well. Once you start establishing and once you've established your reputational resume and you are very clear on what your manager thinks of you, what peers thinks of you, etc., it gives you permission to reach out to those individuals and let them even brand for you. So what do I mean by this? If you're looking for an opportunity, if you're looking for a job, you want to get into the know, people will always, shoot you information, attach you to postings, attach you to, hey, look at this person, etc. So that's the referral kind of reputational side. You yourself, I mean, in your about experience, it's always, great to just kind of talk about, what I talked about in this session, your successes, the way you think, not, putting just, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, but being very intentional and very clear in terms of how you communicate, how you think clearly, and how you really showed up and what did someone say about that project? What did someone say about that key deliverable or that assignment? Put that quote in there.
Mhm.
Professor such and such or from group such and such. This was said about how I handled this project. Put that in that about me section as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, we have a couple questions in terms of people having experience or being grad students and they're applying to jobs, but are getting few interviews and no offers. So, what advice do you have for people who are kind of in that gray area right now?
Yeah, I mean, like I said when I started off, right, I recognize that we're in another, challenging market. This is where, another hard truth, you have to be extremely aggressive in regards to not just even applying, but every organization that you're looking at. I mean, you're researching any form of connection. The great thing is you guys go to USC, a great top tier school, a great network, not just here in SoCal, but throughout the country. Look for those connections. You'll be surprised, even at my level, when people reach out to key executives and organizations who are linked or tied to school affiliates, or you know someone personally that works there, those executives shoot your name over to the HR team, to the hiring team. Hey, take a look at this person. I just call it every organization that you're applying to, you should also be actively reaching out to at least 2 to 3 people who work there and just, not in a pesty way, but a strategic way.
Right.
establishing that connection. Hey, I see you're a USC grad. Hey, I'm excited. Or hey, I just saw your annual reviews. Or hey, I just saw this product that came out. This is how I use it. Just use some type of personal connection.
Mhm.
And people really advocate. At least the thing that will always happen is you get out of that ATS resume, 1,000, 2,000 people who applied to the position, and your name get raised to the top. So it's extra legwork, but trust me, it does work.
Yes, that's great advice. Especially leveraging like LinkedIn and things of that sort. So.
Absolutely.
We have another anecdote. It's a question regarding visible wins. So this
Okay.
person is starting a 12-week internship in a highly specialized research-driven environment where the
Okay.
actual research cycle often spans many years. So
Okay.
since 12 weeks is too short to see a final publication or end result, what would you consider a visible win for a technical intern in such a long-term field? And how can they ensure their contributions feels tangible to their manager by the end of the summer?
Really, really great question. I think, well, I believe, and regardless of the discipline, right? Any visibility win or any key win is really being able to aligning with your leader, aligning with the individuals who are also on that project, and even if it continues and even if it fosters what was the winning deliverable, what success truly came out of it. How did the organization rethink a certain innovation, et cetera? Just really kind of nail those pieces out of that research and be able to kind of elevator pitch it. And when you do pitch it, it's, hey, with your leader, even with your leader's permission, peers, et cetera, if you want to reach out to other members of the organization, other organizations and competitors with that organization, this is what I did. This is how, we approached it. And this is the continued lasting effect. Your reputational resume helps you. You also definitely have to be your own advocate as well. So just know what that success was and know very quickly how you can really kind of shape your contribution to it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Um, someone has a question in terms of working in large organizations, it's like Apple and Boeing or HP, things of like that. How do you best utilize that network while you're there?
Yeah, really, really great question. And here's the other thing I want to talk about too, because many of you guys, and I'll come back to this as well, but it leads me to um, opportunities that are hybrid, opportunities that are fully remote. Um, you have to be even more intentional in regards to, having clear communication, delivering your deliverables when people want that information and when people need that information, and also having that proactive just check in. If it's quarterly like I mentioned, if it's kind of that twice a year minimum that I mentioned as well, you have to really kind of be proactive as well. You'll be surprised, especially in environments where I've been, large organizations, hybrid, remote, etc. Proactively, just even Fridays, let's do a coffee chat. Hey, and the way I approach people is give a nugget of, hey, I was really impressed on your presentation. I was really impressed on what you did. Hey, I saw your email on this. I want to help build that skill and reach out to people. People always appreciate that. I know it could be very scary if it's a large organization, leveling difference, or if it's even remote, you never met the person in person. But come to the individual first with something that you connected with, that you're aiming for. Give them a compliment first, and then tie that connection to foster that relationship.
Perfect. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Something that I will be implementing for my first 90 days too. So
People love
full circle.
compliments and people want to help people. I know, everyone is busy, etc. But if you come to someone genuine, like, wow, and I did this early in my career, someone killed a presentation and I was just, preparing for a presentation. And I was just like nervous and I came up to the person and, people really, do take the time out to, take you under their wings.
I agree, especially as an intern, um,
Absolutely.
and then navigating that post grad as well when you're looking for a mentor, things of that sort.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
this happened. We also have a question in terms of like navigating politics in the workplace. Do you
Yes.
have any advice for that?
Yes. Stay away from it. So, be like Switzerland. And I say that jokingly, but truly, I've seen politics, unfortunately, ruin many people's reputational resume. Don't get involved. Be that individual where you're just there, friendly, mastering your work. People trust you. You're consistent. You're delivering results. Keep it as that because you never want to get into politics. You don't, first of all, people remember politics. You don't know who was who, relationships changes, and you just don't want to be involved. So that's truly my advice 100%. Ignore the, water cooler talks.
Mm,
Keep work professional, stay away from it. Yes, you're going to have some bad leaders. Yes, you're going to have some bad colleagues. Just refrain from it, because you never know what gets back to people. Because believe me, I've been in probably 1,000 promotional conversations.
mm,
Executives, they know what's happening.
mm.
You'll think they didn't hear stuff, but people hear things, and you don't want your name involved in a negative chatter, especially a culture, something negative about impacting the culture, one's culture.
Yes, I agree. I have a question in terms of handling a situation where you feel like your manager directly isn't really invested in your growth. How do
Yeah.
you navigate something like that?
Yeah, this is where going back, kind of the same question earlier, you know, and I know it could be difficult. Like I said, even personally, I had a tough manager. I remember actually, even personally, I walked out of the building one time in my previous organization because I was so frustrated. But I still remain composed. The good thing that happens out of that situation, like I said, other people do know. And when I walked out of that personal situation frustrated, I remember my CFO came outside too and was just kind of talking to me like, hey, hang in there. You've been so professional, etc. I know it's tough when you're going through it, but it's your professional reputational resume on the line. So just remember that first and foremost. Don't do anything, don't say anything, don't be rude, etc. Continue to deliver, continue to be composed. And then there's other ways, right? There is HR, other people see it, and in the background I'm sure the organization is working on it, like my personal situation, right? So let let the frameworks inside the organization handle that situation, raise that professionally, but you yourself continue to remain composed, continue to deliver, and continue to show up, and your peers, other leaders will advocate for you.
Perfect. Yes. You have to stay positive.
You-
That's kind of
I know
important.
it's difficult. I mean, I'm not gonna. I've been in those situations, right? So.
Absolutely. And for our last question, and I know you gave a ton of advice on different topics, different avenues, but if you could give the audience one piece of advice to guarantee a strong 90 days, whether it's internship or full-time job, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's everything everything we've talked about so far, because I think this is the behind the curtain conversation that you don't know about.
Mhm.
Um, Whether it's fair or not, right? Once you start that internship, once you start your job, there's just going to be conversations about you behind closed doors all the time. How do you want those conversations to go when you're not there? So be intentional. You can control it in terms of, like I said, the way you show up, the way you deliver, and the way you remain composed, and you can continue to check in on it quarterly and continue to ensure that if you were to ask your leader, your peers, 5 years, 10 years later down the road, would they vouch for you? You want to make sure they say yes.
Thank you
That's
so much, Isaac.
my advice.
Wow. Thank you so much, Isaac.
You're welcome.
This was an amazing session of corporate advice, whether it's students who are thinking about for-profits, nonprofits, government, NGOs. It was great advice. The workplace is a workplace, whether
Absolutely.
it's a big corporate company or a 10-person nonprofit and all the organizations in between. And you gave such great advice. I put in the chat, you are the CEO of your career and brand, and you
Yeah.
certainly shared that great information and also what people are thinking about, what people are saying behind closed doors. How are you controlling that narrative? It's very, very insightful. So I also want to thank Jayla Eloy, who has been part of the planning for this, was a fabulous moderator and employer recruitment intern for me this year. I will miss her greatly after she graduates, but thank you, Jayla, for everything. Thank you, Isaac Adisuba, for all of your wonderful reach out to me and for hosting this particular topic on the first 90 days and how to be successful. And I also want to give a shout out to Myra Blass, who is our assistant director for marketing, who also helped get the word out to all of our students. And I want to I also want to thank all of our students and recent grads who are here today for this event. So without further ado, we'll just say fight on, everybody, with the two fingers up, fight on. And we will see. The good news is Isaac is going to be speaking on June 3rd at our Career and Professional Development Boot Camp. So we'll get a second opportunity to hear from Isaac and his wonderful wisdom and pearls of wisdom that he wants to share with the USC Trojan family. So with that, we'll say fight on and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.